A omega block pattern is setting up across parts of the United States. This is leading to a more quiet to severe weather pattern and making it so that we see nicer weather. I'm going to be talking about what you need to know about this big weather change, so let's get right into it. First, I'm going to talk about the nice weather that we are going to be seeing. If you're out here in parts of the Great Lakes region, in parts of the Ohio Valley, and even up in the parts of the Northeast and Midwest, it's going to be very nice today. Temperatures are soaring up into the lower 70s, and this is going to lead to very perfect weather if you're out in these areas. And it's not going to be that sticky either. It's not going to be humid. It's going to be really nice out there. And it's not going to be too cloudy out there today. So definitely get outdoors and enjoy it, as it's going to be really nice out here. Even as we get into tomorrow on Friday, this nice weather will continue in parts of the Mid-Atlantic into parts of the Great Lakes region and Ohio Valley. It's still going to be perfect tomorrow, as there's going to be just perfect temperatures. And taking a look at the wind, you can see here that we have an omega block pattern that's going to be coming out here in parts of the United States. You can see this whole big area that we're not going to be seeing too much like weather patterns. It's just going to be pretty quiet in here. Still can cause like a little bit of severe weather, and it can be unpredictable. And like we're just going to have these little systems come through in random places in the United States, and that's going to be causing random severe weather. But like for most of all, it's just going to be pretty quiet out there for a while, because we're having this massive high pressure system that's located out here, and you can see that it's just going to sit there and it's not going to cause any big severe weather systems. However, there's this stationary spinning trough out here and within these areas, and this is going to move through those areas, and this is actually going to cause a potential for severe weather today in the Pacific Northwest. Now, that spinning trough is going to cause some of that severe weather potential in the Pacific Northwest, bringing a potential for the primary hazards being damaging winds and hail. But we can't even rule out a brief spin-up tornado, and this is actually unusual for places up there in the Pacific Northwest. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a level 2 out of 5 slight risk going from eastern Washington down to southwestern Idaho, with a 15% wind risk in those areas, marked with the wind conditional intensity group 1 risk. Winds from 65 to 75 miles per hour will be a potential, so definitely be sure you're strapping down unsecured objects. We're also looking at a potential for some hail today out here, as there's a 15% hail risk from parts of northeastern Oregon and parts of southeastern Washington, and a 2% tornado risk out here, where we do have potential for a brief spin-up tornado that will likely be weak if it does occur. So if you're out here in the Pacific Northwest today, definitely be sure you're having a way to get alerts. Also, this area down here in parts of Colorado, so Denver, Colorado, you guys will even have a potential for severe weather today. Mainly looking at a chance for some hail down there. And the parts of the southern United States is still going to continue to get pounded with thunderstorms, and maybe a few gusty winds. As we get into tomorrow on Friday, this severe weather potential will continue. We have marginal risk down here in parts of the southern plains tomorrow on Friday, where there's a potential for isolated severe weather. There's also a marginal risk tomorrow up here in southeastern Wyoming, parts of western Nebraska, and northeastern Colorado. There's a potential for isolated severe weather as well. There's a marginal risk up here in northwestern Montana tomorrow as well that we're looking at, mainly a chance for isolated severe weather, mainly being damaging winds and some hail. And then on Saturday, we'll have another severe weather potential. Definitely got to be watching Saturday very closely, but there's a marginal risk going from parts of northern Texas all the way up into southeastern Montana. And there's actually a slight risk outline from southwestern South Dakota down to northwestern Nebraska. So Saturday is going to be something that we got to be watching, mainly looking at a chance for some damaging winds and hail. Switching over to the future radar. This is the future radar for today. So we're going to start with today, and then we'll do tomorrow for Friday and Saturday. But you can see this is the future radar that we could be. This is what some of the storms could look like today. This is the future radar for today. You can see we're going to have some storms develop out here. So this is all because of that one spinning trough that's out there, and that's stationary. That's going to cause some storms to develop out there. You can see we could be seeing a chance for damaging winds, hail, and maybe even a tornado. So that's definitely going to be something that we got to be watching. So this is what it could look like at 4 p.m. Eastern. Might have some storms start to form out there in southern Oregon. We'll have to be watching those very closely. I think 6 to like 8 p.m. is probably going to be the peak of the severe weather event. And then these storms will kind of continue as we get into 10 p.m. Eastern. This is what it could look like out there. Have a few storms, maybe even parts of northern Idaho. And then we're also going to get some of the storms to move into parts of Washington as we get into the extremely early morning hours of Friday. Going over to our STP values, this is significant tornado parameter. You can see this kind of just shows where we could be seeing some of those tornadoes today, and like we could be seeing some tornadoes out there today and some hail and damaging winds. See that we don't have like the craziest values out there, but we definitely got some significant tornado parameter values up there, mainly going into like 2 and those those type of levels. I think maybe 3, 2. So that's kind of what SIGTOR is looking like right now. You can see here, if we switch over to CAPE, this stands for Convective Available Potential Energy. It's basically storm fuel, so just think of this as storm fuel here. Okay, this is CAPE. Just think of it as storm fuel. So there's a decent amount of storm fuel out there, but it doesn't look that concerning. CAPE values going up to like 2,000 joules per kilogram, 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram, which is plenty for some storms, but it's just not that crazy. Then going out here in Colorado, you can see we're gonna have some storms pop up out there too, mainly having a chance for some hail. Denver, you guys could get a storm around 6 or 7 p.m., so that's definitely gonna be something that you guys should be watching very closely. Having a way to get alerts if you're out there. Not rule out a chance for maybe an isolated brief spin-up tornado out there in parts of Colorado today. And as we get into tomorrow on Friday, this is Friday's feature radar out here for parts of Texas and kind of like the Southern Plains areas. You can see we're going to have some storms start to pop up out there and start to initiate around 3 p.m. And those should continue producing a chance for damaging winds and hail. So we're going to be watching that very closely there. And then out there in parts of Colorado, Nebraska, and parts of Wyoming, you can see we're also going to have some storms up there that could have a chance for some damaging winds and hail. We're also going to have some storms push through for parts of the Northern Rockies tomorrow, also producing a chance for some damaging winds and hail. And I actually have a little bit of an isolated tornado chance up there. I won't rule out them issuing maybe a tornado risk, so definitely got to be watching the Northern Rockies tomorrow too. Storms should initiate tomorrow in parts of the Northern Rockies around 3 p.m. And then kind of the peak will probably be from 4 to like 7 p.m. So yeah, those storms should continue to push through those areas. So western Montana tomorrow, you guys definitely need to be staying prepared for potential severe weather. And that includes potential tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail. I think the tornado risk is going to be very low though up here. But the main part, like the storm should initiate around 3 p.m. And I think the peak should be 6 to 8 p.m. So here is the Rufus A model. Now, this thing is a little bit aggressive. It kind of just has a crazy amount of storms developing, but probably won't look exactly like this, but it's not that accurate. I don't like this model that much, but you can see we're going to have some storms develop out there on Saturday. This is for Saturday. Won't rule out a chance for some damaging winds, hail. If we switch over to the STP values, you can see here, it's not that crazy out there, but maybe an isolated brief spin-up tornado out there on Saturday, but I think mainly a chance for some damaging winds and hail. So definitely got to be watching Saturday very closely here. So yeah. And on Saturday, we'll probably have some storms to initiate around 1 p.m. out there, and then kind of continue with the peak being probably like 5 to 8 p.m. and everything like that. So Saturday is definitely going to be something that we got to be watching very closely. So if you check out storm fuel, you can see there's a decent amount of storm fuel out there, supporting a chance for some pretty significant severe weather, mainly looking at significant hail, up to like 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram. Like I said, the Rufus model goes a little bit aggressive on the severe weather setups and stuff like that. Well, it looks like we're going to have a big break of significant severe weather with that Omega block pattern that's going to be setting up in parts of the United States. If we push up the future radar, you can see as we get into early June, looks like we're going to have some potentials for maybe a few severe storm systems, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too insane. But you can see as we get into early June, we definitely do got to be watching, though, for some severe weather. Even early June, it doesn't look that significant, but I do think that we're going to have some more severe storms coming through. I don't think it's going to be that significant. This Omega block pattern is going to be sitting there for a while and causing more quiet weather patterns. Definitely got to be watching Tuesday, June 2nd for maybe a severe weather chance in parts of the Midwest and parts of the Plains. Could get pretty significant, maybe. And then you can see Ohio Valley might have to be watching the potential for severe weather on June 5th and everything like that. So it's kind of just what the extended outlook could be looking like out there. But this is getting pretty far out. We can't confirm anything. Here's the temperature anomaly. You can see here we got some decently nice temperatures out there, except in parts of the Northeast. You guys could be seeing snow potentially on Saturday, and it's going to be cold out there. So if you're in the Northeast, it's going to be cold on Saturday, and it could be snowing on Saturday. So that's kind of what's going on up there. It's going to be pretty crazy weather going on out there in the Northeast. And then, yeah, that's kind of what the temperature anomaly is looking like. Northeast could be getting pretty cold. Could start warming up, though, around June 5th and everything like that. But it looks like for a big chunk of the United States, it's going to be pretty nice. And that's pretty much all I got for you in today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure you're staying weather aware, and I'll see you in the next one.